Hi, I'm Bob, and I thought I'd tell you today a little bit about how it all began with dream pets. Actually, it started with a gentleman named Richard Dakin, who was from Europe and had moved to San Francisco in the early 50s. And he was an importer of different products, mostly from Europe. And like so many business people and entrepreneurs of that time during the early and middle 50s, Mr. Dakin set out to manufacture things in Japan. And Mr. Dakin's idea was that he would create and produce an electric train that would rival the Lionel electric train, which had become wildly popular here in the US and in Europe. But Mr. Dakin's idea was that he would create a wooden electric train with a metal base and steel base, but hand-carved wood, and he would call it the Dakin. He went off to Japan and searched and found the right factory in Japan to produce those electric trains, and they began to produce them. In the factories where the electric trains were being made, the workers, either through idle time or monotony, or most likely through creative expression, began to sweep up the sawdust from the floor, the residual from the electric trains. And they found different scraps of materials, either in their factories or in the neighborhoods. And at the time, velveteen was very popular. And they would find velveteen or buttons or felt or string or yarn, whatever they could. And they would cut out different patterns of animals, sweep up the sawdust, and pack the critters with the sawdust, pressed it in good and hard, and then they would glue or stitch the fabric together. And here's where the phenomenon really starts. They never had any intention that anyone would even notice their creations, let alone ever want to sell them or buy them or collect them. They took their creations and they threw them into the big cartons, the crates, where the electric trains were going to be shipped from Japan to San Francisco. And they used these little thingamajigs as the packing material on the train's long journey over the ocean from Japan to San Francisco. Mr. Dakin and his son Roger and all the other Dakin workers were excited about the crates getting there so they could begin to show others the electric trains. And when they began to open these crates, what came out were these new little funsters. And they were leaking sawdust everywhere. And but something magical happened between Mr. Dakin and the rest of the people that were there. They loved these new funsters. Mr. Dakin, who had a smart heart, called the factory workers in Japan and said, "What do you call these things that you've thrown into the crates with the trains?" And the Japanese workers said, "We call them our dream pets, because whatever animal, whatever pet that we can fantasize or imagine or dream, we can make a reality." Mr. Dakin said, "You know, why don't you stop making the electric trains for now and make me some of those dream pets?" They had made about 4 or 5 different animals. And that was in 1957, almost 50 years ago. The birth of the original stuffed toy took place. They were called dream pets. Prior to that, of course, there were teddy bears, mostly all coming from Europe, and they were stuffed with either feathers or cotton, something much more soft. But the stuffed toy, the original, were the Dakin's dream pets. About 25 years ago, our tastes began to change, and there were new characters coming into the world. There were Smurfs and Strawberry Shortcake and Care Bears and Although the Walt Disney Company had had their characters for so many years, they were now more popular than ever, and Jim Henson's characters. And the old Dream Pets just weren't as fashionable or desirable as they once were. And the Dakins began to produce something called Garfield the Cat. And the Dream Pets took a little nap from about 1984 until just a couple of months ago, when we decided it was time to reintroduce the Dream Pets to a whole new generation and introduce it to all the generations, some that have enjoyed it from many years ago and some who never met Dream Pets before. So as you're looking at our website today, or you see the Dream Pets in a local store, or you might even have a few in your house, I thought it would be good for you to know just how Dream Pets were born. They were just an idea, just a dream. And like so many wonderful things, they were never planned. They just became a phenomenon. And we hope that you love them as much as they're going to love you. Thank you.